All right, let's talk about success. Today, we're going to challenge basically everything you've ever been told about positive thinking and chasing happiness. Because it turns out that constant, relentless drive for success, it might actually be the very thing that's holding you back.
Okay, let's just dive right in with this quote. I know at first glance it kind of makes your brain hurt, right? But think about it. The very act of wanting to feel better just shines a giant spotlight on the fact that you don't feel good right now. It's this strange paradox that's at the core of why so many of us feel stuck.
And this gets at a concept they call the inverse law. The more you're desperately chasing wealth, the poorer you feel, no matter what your bank account says. The more you desperately want to be confident, the more insecure you become. It's a cosmic trick, and it doesn't just apply to money. It applies to pretty much everything we chase.
So that leads us straight into our first big idea, the success paradox. Our whole culture is completely obsessed with winning, with being the best, but that obsession, it can backfire big time. Take the writer Charles Bukowski. He found incredible success not by trying to be some polished winner, but by just fully accepting that he was kind of a failure. He didn't hide his rough edges, he put them right out there, and that raw honesty is what people connected with. And this paradox feeds directly into our next problem, the positivity trap. It's everywhere, isn't it? This pressure to just be positive. But here's the thing. Trying to force yourself to be happy usually just makes you more anxious. Because, shocker, you can't just flip a switch and feel blissed out. And that failure creates this really nasty feedback loop. And this slide just nails that loop perfectly. So, step 1, you feel anxious about something. Totally normal human reaction. But then, step 2 kicks in. You get mad at yourself for feeling anxious. You think, ugh, I shouldn't be feeling this way. And that second layer of judgment, that's what leads to self-hatred. So now you've got 2 problems. Whatever you were anxious about in the first place, and now you hate yourself for reacting to it.
So what are you supposed to do with these feelings? Well, it's all about avoiding 2 extremes. On the one hand, you can't just bottle them up and pretend they don't exist. Your emotions are just signals, right? They're trying to tell you something. But on the other hand, you can't let them run the whole show, acting on every little impulse like a toddler. The trick is to listen to them without letting them take over the driver's seat.
Another huge myth that keeps people stuck is this idea that a happy life is a life with no problems. We're all chasing this fantasy of a perfect, stress-free existence. But that fantasy isn't just impossible to achieve, it's probably not even something you'd want.
Seriously, think about it for a second. What would you even do all day? What would get you out of bed in the morning? Problems are what give our lives a sense of purpose. They're the puzzles that push us to grow and get better.
Now, this slide is just brilliant because it completely reframes the goal. See, happiness isn't about getting rid of your problems, it's about upgrading them. A homeless person is worried about finding a safe place to sleep. A billionaire is worried about their legacy. They both have problems. The key is, you want the billionaire's problems.
And this is just perfectly put. So many of us are obsessed with the destination, the promotion, the finished novel, whatever, but we can't stand the process of getting there. We want the prize without the fight. But what if the climb is the prize? That's where the real fulfillment is found.
So, what's the final big obstacle that kind of ties all this stuff together? Well, it's the ego. There are all these sneaky ways our own sense of self-importance can trip us up and keep us from ever really growing.
And these are all just different flavors of the same thing, Whether you're playing the victim or you're convinced you're a genius but just haven't been discovered, or you're terrified of just being normal, it's all your ego building walls to protect itself. And that protection is a prison.
So what's a better way to measure yourself? Forget about how you feel when you're winning. The real test of character is how you handle getting knocked down. Do you learn from it? Do you get back up? Or do you let it break you? That's where real confidence comes from. So this all boils down to one final, huge, life-changing question. And this is the question that cuts through all the noise and gets to the heart of what really matters.
Most people stop here. They ask themselves, what do I want? What's the goal? What's the reward? It's a pretty easy question to answer. But it's only half of the equation. This is the question that really defines your life, because everybody wants the pleasure. Everyone wants the trophy. But very, very few people are willing to embrace the struggle that's required to earn it. Your success isn't decided by what you want to enjoy. It's decided by what pain you're willing to endure. That's the choice that actually matters.
When you can honestly answer that question, when you can accept that trade-off,
you get to this really powerful state of mind. It's not some mystical, floaty concept. It's something much more grounded. It's practical enlightenment.
Practical enlightenment is just this: being totally okay with the fact that life will always involve some kind of struggle. The problems never really go away, they just change. Once you accept that, once you stop running from the hard parts, you become free. You get to choose the struggles that give your life meaning. And when you can do that, you really do become unstoppable.